Welcome to the mat, Yogi. So glad that you could be here. If you don't already have one handy, please grab a yoga strap like so, or I'm just using a scarf today. You just want it to be long enough to be able to hook it over your foot like so, and to be able to reach your foot depending on your flexibility. Also, we're going to be starting our practice today on our side body in embryo pose to open up into our twist from there. And I find it so much more comfortable if I have a pillow or I'm using my folded up throw here to make sure that my head is supported and not just dropping kind of awkwardly down towards the floor. We're going to be spending some time breathing and really lubricating our spine and so on. Today's practice, in fact, I really want to focus on what it takes in our own bodies to settle, to anchor, to ground, to center. These are all different words that kind of get to the same feeling in the body potentially, but I invite you to really notice which one strikes you, how it plays upon your body, and play with those words as you hear me say them in our practice. Notice the effect as you repeat it on your own body. Because ideally, I would love it if each of us found the word that is most poignant, that as you move throughout your week, if you find yourself in sort of a anticipatory tension, waiting to do a thing or waiting for something to happen, if you're uncomfortable or nervous about anything that's going on in the world around you, that you can observe swadhyaya, self-observation, that kind of holding, and apply the best word for you to self-soothe, to settle, to center, to ground, to be here now. So when you are ready, please join me on your side body. So we're going to come into embryo pose. And so some people find it helpful to have their arm, the floor arm under their head. I'm on my left side to start. It doesn't really matter where you are. Others will be comfortable having it out in front of them, assuming that they have something under the head, like so. And I'm going to take mine out just because I don't want it to mess with the sound quality from my headphones for you. But you're going to settle on that side. And I'd like the knees together, feet flexed, and the knees are straight forward from the hips or higher if you like. Some people will be comfortable taking that floor hand and anchoring the thighs. Just see what you think this morning. You might also be able to shift that floor shoulder a little towards the edge of the mat, kind of rotating the spine more deeply. And as you're ready, I invite you to inhale, slowly sweep that top arm up, and exhaling behind. It may or may not go to the floor. We don't care. On your inhale, please intentionally bring it back towards the sky, straight up. Is there more? Exhaling back down towards the floor. And we're going to continue in this way for a half a dozen breaths or so. So finding your breath cycle, your depth, asking, is there more? Is there more? Can you find the gap or pause between the turns of the breath? Feel free to turn your gaze up and in towards your third eye point. Lightly connect the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. And you might also add your ujjayi breath contraction right in the throat area, so it makes that sound of ocean waves. Last one on this side. Hold and briefly sweep that back arm up towards the ear and kind of down again, and just exploring what's in the shoulder joint. Your head might be rolling right and left. The more organic you can make it or inspired by the body, the better. And briefly, before we go to the other side, it might feel good to just extend that top leg out. You can use your lower hand to support a little bit. And return your knees together before coming onto your back and rolling to your other side. So as you go onto your other side, again, please stack your knees so that they're directly above one another, straight forward from the hip joints. Again, you make some adjustment to whatever support you might have under your head so that you feel an ease, and begin your breath of inhaling and opening that top arm and letting it settle behind you, not caring how far it goes. Letting the inhale very intentionally bring that arm straight up to the sky again. I want a really wonderful range of motion, making plenty of room for the breath, and exhaling out behind again. As you continue observing the breath, asking, is there more? Also being curious, is this side different? What's there? Inhaling slow, deep, and wide as if it's all you'd ever do. Exhaling, settling as if you never intended to go anywhere else. We get to play a little mind game with ourselves to keep ourselves here in this moment, this body, this breath. Good. One more. And then slowly, as you're in your open position, holding, just working that range of motion, bringing the back arm up by the ear and returning it. Again, the head may rotate as well, whatever feels natural. And then returning that arm and slowly extending that top leg if you want to. Seeing what's in there, getting that nice stretch. Remember, you can support it with your floor arm. You can also point and flex the foot, rotate the ankle. Yeah. Bringing the knees back together before you return, this time to center onto our back body. Bring knees to belly. And just give a little rock side to side. We're going to come directly into robot. I feel like a big part of centering is knowing that we're in our core and waking it up. So as you are here, gather a huge inhale. Exhale, power down through your back. It's as if you're pushing something into the mat. Good. Take another long inhale and begin slowly extending the knees or sliding the knees forward until they're directly above the hips, feet directly forward at the knees. So we have these 90-degree angles at the joints. As you're ready on an exhale, your breath, you'll slowly take one heel towards the floor. It doesn't matter if it touches, and slowly return. Inhale in your neutral. You can always let that core contraction go to give it a break on the inhale or keep it contracted. Always be contracted on the exhale, slowly taking one heel, the other towards the floor. Neck stays soft, tongue is soft. Come on back. Good. We're going to continue like that. A couple more rounds. If you want to add the arms, they start straight up and they maybe stay there, or you can add the arm in, opposite arm reaching. Inhale, neutral. Slow, deep and wide. Neck is soft. Exhale, one heel towards the floor, opposite hand reaching for the wall behind you. And exhaling, come back. You may need to adjust and take little sips of breath, however you want to do it. Always inhale in neutral. Exhaling, other heel, and its opposite hand, reaching long. Really activate through that tricep. Good, come on back. Good. One more round. I'm going to do a little pausing in flight, as I call it. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, extending heel and opposite hand. And holding in flight here to gather and inhale. Now this can be challenging. So again, if you need to bring that leg a little bit back towards neutral, go for it. Otherwise, big breath, exhale, ujjayi, return. Last one, inhale, neutral. Is there more? Exhale. Last heel, opposite hand. Again, that heel might lightly touch down or hover. Big inhale, rooting through the core, reaching through the limbs, and slowly return. Ah, good. Plant the feet for bridge pose. Anchoring the upper arm, kind of squeezing the shoulder blades beneath you together, a little shoulder blade sandwich. And when you are ready, feet anchoring, fingers splayed, long inhale, exhale, press up to bridge pose. Inhale slowly. So you're really working the posterior chain, back body, hamstrings, and butt. Soften at the bottom. Nice inhale. Exhale, press up. Inhaling, come slowly down. And complete that inhale. Really take it in. Is there more? One more time up, an invitation to hold leg extensions. So I'm going to lift one foot off the floor, just hovering. And then if that feels good, extending, straightening through the knee. If your back is kind of tweaky or this just feels really intense as you do the other leg, just stay with that foot hover. Or notice when you extend the leg, is one side really different? Pause in that side, really talk to the hamstring and glute of that standing leg. Get them to power up that other side. Staying soft in the neck as you do one more round. Deepen breath. The breath says, I am whole, I am safe, I am well. This is my yoga. There's nothing else to accomplish. I did it. I got to the mat. Woohoo! You guys are awesome. And slowly, slowly on down. Good. Little knees to belly, a little recovering. And we're going to come onto our left side. And this is the first part of our practice where we're going to be using our strap or scarf. So as always, I'm going to kind of give ideas of how to do this. If any part of your body is uncomfortable, tweaky, then you need to make adjustments so that it's not. And I'm going to be offering some, options too as we go. But we're going to start just laying like you were in embryo kind of, but then with your head supported by one hand. If this is awkward, you might grab that pillow again that you were using earlier. But then you're going to need that hand, to loop it onto your right arch. So I'm on my left side. I'm going to loop it onto my right arch, and I'm going to grab a hold of both ends of that strap. And I'll bring that hand back under me. So with this lower leg, left knee bent, is going to give you the most stability. Okay, so you might want to start there. Otherwise, with your other hand kind of supporting in front of you, extend your floor leg. So you're just basically one long board except for that top leg. And everybody make a point to draw your ribs into your back body. Think about like elongating your back. That's going to use that amazing core that you just woke up. And so as you're ready, please begin to extend that right leg towards the sky. And as you do so, think about drawing the right sits bone, your butt essentially, down towards the bottom of the mat. So we don't want it kind of hiking and curling up. We want to really be anchored. And again, this is wonderful for developing all those centering and grounding muscles in our core. Now notice, do you have the ability to pull your toes a little more towards the top edge of the mat and get a deeper hamstring stretch? We want the hamstring stretch in the belly of the ham. That's that big meaty part, not it behind the knee or way up into the sits bones. So don't overdo it. You can also bend the knee. Sometimes we actually get a better hamstring stretch that way. Playing with this. Good. Pulsing. Nice long inhale. And then holding your position if you can, release your strap or scarf and see if you can just hold with me here for about 5-6 breaths, something like that. You're really activating and pushing towards the sky. You can always come out a little early if you feel something getting unhappy. Noticing breath, breathing, exploring being relaxed and powerful and engaged. Last breath there. And release. We're going to go to our belly for a nice counter stretch in cobra. So rolling onto your belly, anchor down through the pelvic triangle, pubic bone and hip bones, supporting on the forehead initially, clamp those elbows in, shoulder heads down, and now inhale, draw the heart forward off the edge of the mat. Not really, but you're imagining that's where you're headed. Inhaling, extending, exhaling, returning. Again, really checking that when you extend, there's no lift of the shoulders. There's no wing of the elbows. So I'd rather come up only an inch off of the mat with my head and have all that beautiful engagement. If you'd like a little more depth, one more, press a little with the arms, King Cobra. Again, you're drawing the heart forward, not pushing back. Exhaling, release. Turn the head to the side, rock the hips. If your lower back ever gets ignited or sore during those kinds of practices, always answer it with child's pose. We're going to come to our other side for our strap stretch on the foot. So again, if you want a little more stability so you can enjoy the stretch, have that lower leg bent like we did during embryo. Otherwise, you can begin with them extended. The body's just one long straight line. I'm going to release my supporting hand so that I can loop my strap or scarf onto that left foot. And making sure that that floor leg is deeply extended. You might even kind of take a peek at it, see that it's straight down. And then talking to the rib cage, boom, drawing it back and in. Beautiful. And now breathe. If you're quivering and wobbling a little bit, great. This is a balancing pose. Shoulder heads anchor and begin applying a little pressure with the strap. It can feel wonderful too to bend the knee and extend more deeply. This is a wonderful way of getting all the muscles around, like the knee joint, IT band area, which a lot of us struggle with, to kind of get the message that they're not supposed to stay permanently engaged. So we kind of relax, and then engage them. Good. Few more breaths. Maybe drawing the foot closer towards the head of the mat. We're going to be doing a standing version of this later. So you can always come back to this, by the way, because the standing version obviously is more of a balance challenge. And I really love this as an option. Some days I add this to my practice just to get that hamstring stretch without some of the effort that we get in more intense standing postures. Last breath with the strap. Release the strap. And if you can, holding. Now noticing how engaging deeply through the quadricep, pushing through the heel, makes holding easier. You should feel your butt muscles light up, especially on that left side. Breathing into engagement while relaxing. Notice if your tongue is sandwiched against your mouth, soften it, just light connection with the tip of the tongue. Soft gaze, maybe a soft smile because you're like, my body's awesome. And release. Oh, good. Coming onto the belly again. Option to do cobra like we just did. Or if you'd like to do a little upward dog engagement. So for that, you would either be on the knees, tops of the feet, or on the balls of the feet, and pressing the heart forward as you root through the pelvis. So that's the on the feet version, hips hanging. You could also do just on the knees so that you're letting the hips come off the floor in a way that we don't in cobra. Again, you could try on the tops of the feet. It's a great stretch for the feet and really good work for those quads. One more. And release. Turn your head to the side again. Maybe rock the hips. Notice what's needed. If some of that is hard on wrists, by the way, sometimes Sphinx is a really nice alternative, and you could always engage that instead. We're going to be coming into our forearm plank, and I love forearm plank. The key is really finding the level that works for your body. So remember, as you place, one hand around the other, that you want your elbows kind of below the shoulders or even a little bit back. That makes it easier to start. Definitely knees down is going to be the most approachable. And this gives you a place to really practice and notice what's happening. Am I engaging in all the powerful places, feeling no pain in the back? That's what we want. If you'd like to go to feet, go ahead now and extend those thigh bones towards the sky. Boom. So you're in a full-on plank pose here on your forearms, breathing. I hope quivering. I am. If you'd like more quiver and it doesn't bother your back, you can bring your elbows forward a little bit. I usually release out of the pose to come back into that. See if you can do 3 more breaths here, really aware of the steadiness and the softness of the breath, even inside of this effort of the body. Think about lengthening from your heels to your crown. 1 more. And release. Beautiful. Plant the hands. We're pressing to child's pose. Make sure that the pelvis is anchored as you make that transition. That really supports the low back. Take the knees wide. Let the forearms just rest on the floor and then the forehead as well. If it's still too far to the floor for the forehead, you can rest with stacked hands or a block or whatever you need. I think of this pose as a settling pose. We also talk in yoga about it representing humility. And I don't know about you, but when I think about the wisdom of the body and its incredible power to rejuvenate and handle everything that I in the world brings at it, I feel very amazed and very humble. Tuning into your breath. Taking another long inhale. On your exhale, rounding belly into the spine to come up into your table pose. So we're going to be doing some lunging, and I'm going to show the floor version first, and then I'm going to show a standing version for anyone for whom being on wrists and knees like this is problematic. But we're going to start in table, and we're just going to bring that right foot forward and plant it nice and wide, just really comfortable. Mine's actually right out beyond the edge of the mat. And then I'm going to rotate open through the right arm, spinal twist. Exhaling, return. We'll do that twice more on this side. If you'd like to do a standing version, then you might take your foot up on an ottoman or a chair, and you could bring the hand down and come into that same movement with us, or even do it without the supporting hand. Good. And as you are ready, exhaling, return back to table. Good. Left foot outside of that left hand, inhaling, rotate open. Exhaling, return. You can make this as just sort of floaty as you want, or engaged and powerful. Notice what feels right for your body and spirit today. 1 more this side. And returning to table. Cow, cat here, and we'll transition to downward facing dog in a few moments. Really enjoy the movement of breath in these arched shapes. This shape of cow pose allows us at the very end of the inhale to feel a breath right up into the stretch, the chest area, where we're so tight, many of us. That's where a lot of stress lands, can make us feel kind of compressed and nervous. 1 more long inhale, drawing the heart forward, asking of the breath, is there more? Exhale and curl those toes under. Downward facing dog. Good. And this is our first time in downward facing dog, most of us today, I assume. So I'm going to ask you to take time to get intimate with it. Really explore the back legs by working one heel at a time towards the floor. You can even curl kind of on the front of the foot. You can take them wide. You can bend one knee and kind of press the chest towards that bent knee. It's one of my favorites. Good, and we're going to be repeating that similar lunge and twist move that we did in table. Again, standing is an option, or going to table if you prefer it. Nice core support, please, and it's like a cat back. Nice inhale, exhale, kind of cat back, bring that right foot forward. You got it. Inhale, rotate open. Make sure that back leg is pressing to the sky. Exhale, return the hand. Good. Inhale, open. Slow enough to really track what's happening in the body. If you're taking on tension in the neck, keep your vision on the floor. Notice if that back leg is giving up at all. And return. Downward facing dog. Good. Nice option here to just sighing breath. Go into child's pose if you need a little pause. Or, of course, any of you who are just craving some kind of flow, you can go there. We're going to now other side. Big inhale. Exhale, rounding the back. Bring that left foot forward. Grab it if you've got to, right? However you need to get there. Inhale, rotating open through the left arm. Exhaling, returning. Feel that grounding, centering, and that you're also kind of peaceful. All body parts are working, inhaling the way that you need them to hold this pose throughout the whole exhale. One more. And step back. Beautiful. Inhale, exhale, sigh. And I'd love to take us into pigeon pose. So you might come to your butt and then back body for pigeon alternate. Otherwise, you might just bring that right knee forward behind the right wrist. If you're doing pigeon alternate on the back, you're bending both knees, crossing that right ankle onto the left thigh, bringing the whole deal towards you, hugging the right knee, and rotating a little left. And if you're in the belly down version, similarly, just kind of rotating your body a little right and left can bring some really nice edges to the pose. We're always seeking some intensity that we can breathe into in this pose. So make it organic, make it yours. Using breath to massage us from the inside. When you are ready, switching to your other side for pigeon or pigeon alternate. Remember, you can release out any way you like. You can add extra things in the middle if you need a little recovery pose or opposite shape. On our back, it's left ankle to right thigh and hugging the whole deal towards the chest. And if you're belly down, it's left knee behind the left wrist. Letting the inhale take room, and on the exhale, kind of giving in to the stretch, but also gravity. Good. Notice if you rotate again a little right and left, what do you get? Where's your edge? Good. Another deep breath. Awesome. And we're going to just plant our feet briefly for bridge, a nice counter pose. You might come into just that upper arm rooting or yoga mudra. Now, yoga mudra, we're interlacing the hands. And I find it a really big challenge to interlace the opposite way from my autopilot. So if you normally put left thumb on top, try right thumb on top and see if it feels really awkward. Good. Now, if being in this position overall is not good for your body, your shoulders, your breath, release that clasp. Otherwise, see if you can take 3 breaths in spite of the resistance of the shape. Some of us might even feel a little anxious when we get to that top end of the breath and we feel the restriction of the stretch. It's a great chance to practice being peaceful inside of that intensity. And when you are complete, unwind, come on down, and happy baby. So you might be clasping the blades of the feet, bringing the index finger and middle finger between the big toes, or clasping at the calves. And I know some of you enjoy adding a little half straddle movement. You might conclude with a little butterfly with or without sit-up, totally up to you. You could also do passive butterfly with the feet and legs just on the floor. Okay, I'm going to ask you to explore here for the next few breaths and just notice what's there, what's available to be massaged. Then when you are complete, please join me standing. You want to grab your strap or scarf again. So I remember last time I taught this in practice, I got a number of comments from people saying, wow, I really felt that the next day. And obviously I don't want anyone to be limping around, but if you just feel good ignition in some parts of us that we don't use this way, that is a great thing. So when we're doing this standing work, it's a little more challenging than the floor work because the temptation with gravity and everything else is for us to kind of slump. So all the work to resist, to root and rise is what's going to really work the kind of glutes and sides of the hips. It's really healthful for them. If you need the balance support, you want to do standing but want balance help, go find a thing, a chair or a countertop. We're going to loop the strap around the right foot. And I want you to start with your hand pretty close to your foot, and then with the option that we're going to give ourselves more rein later. So then as you're ready, I want you to slide that hand down and bring the knee up, okay? I'd like initially to practice having the knee fairly straight forward and the foot straight down. A lot of people will tend to let the shin bone go crossways. We don't want to do that for this, okay? We want to really keep that shin pretty straight up. Flex that foot, it'll help. Work that right shoulder head down because it's going to probably have crept forward as we did that reach. Good. Now, before we do anything else, I want us to just check with our left hand. Kind of tell that hip to push towards the center line. And I'm hoping you can kind of feel the alignment change and then all these muscles working for you. Good. Now, slowly let that right knee come out to the side. Similarly, keeping the heel straight down so it's not tipping up on you. Good. And if you are game, release that left arm, maybe straight out or up in a V. Good. One more long breath. Root, reach. See if you can create space in your hips, in your ribs, and slowly release. Good. And I like to just sort of walk it out a little bit. We'll do the other side. And don't feel sad. We're coming back to that side. So if you're like, oh, that wasn't enough, don't worry. So I'm going to take the strap around the left arch and kind of slide my hand down towards it. And when I'm ready, I'm going to bring that knee up. I'm going to, again, try and bring it fairly straight forward, heel straight down and flexed, shoulder head anchoring. Keeping my right hand on my right hip as just sort of a reference point initially. Good. Now, if the balance is the big challenge for you, think about anchoring through that inner line of the foot. That's usually what's giving way when we're losing our balance. And as you're ready, go ahead and open that left knee out towards the left side. Doesn't matter if it goes straight out. But notice if you can kind of light up your left butt cheek to think about kind of rotating that knee back, the whole thigh bone. It's a lot like what we do in Warrior Two. Good. Now check in with that standing hip. See if it's pressing towards the center line. And if you'd like, add that arm. See if you can lift up out of the hip and the ribs now. A sense of creating space. And release. Whew. Put the strap aside for the moment, go sideways on your mat in your straddle, and we're just gonna lunge side to side a little bit. It should feel like a good recovery, I hope. Good. And if it feels good to you, take it down low, get the hands down on the mat. You might even be able to let the head hang. So nice for decompressing the spine, getting that deeper inner thigh stretch. And coming back to center, you might walk the feet in a little bit just to come up comfortably. Exhaling, prayer hands. Now, as you stand here a moment, your eyes closed, I want you to talk to your thighs. Notice there's a certain amount of work those muscles have to do to hold you up, but there's probably some engagement that doesn't need to be there. If you're not sure, try taking your hands there and tell those muscles it's okay to soften a little bit. Good. If your feet aren't already out parallel, please turn them parallel, heels straight back. We're going to bring our arms out into what I think of as the hug emoji. And we're just going to do a little pulsing here that we don't usually do. When we do this pose, we often are just deeply engaged. And that is wonderful. We know this position is really, really great for our mood. It's wonderful if you're kind of struggling with feeling ho-hum or even depressed. But we're going to do a little pulsing here that is on the inhale, that deep engagement, working the thighs, the butt, the belly, bam. And on the exhale, I want you to soften a little bit. Bend the knees a little, bend the elbows, let your fingers curl a little bit. When the inhale comes, extending, make sure in your spine extension that there's no effort in the neck, really. It's just a nice weeble wobble with your head. And exhaling, soften. Let's do a couple more. Your breath, your observation of your body. And releasing. Nice. Come together with the legs. Let's roll out ankles, roll out wrists. So I'm hoping that you were able to feel whether those muscles were engaging or not, but also whether you could tell them to soften or not. A lot of the pain, I think, and aches that we get is not so much because we've used the muscles in life, it's because they've kind of stuck on, or some are working harder and overworking and the partnering muscle groups aren't doing their job. So we really want to practice getting those things lit up. Okay, we're going to take the feet wide again. So speaking of lighting up, you can use that lower body, all right? But we're going to be really working this side body. So I'm going to ask you to inhale and just kind of open your right arm. I'm keeping the elbow bent. Good. Exhale. Go ahead and cross like you're kind of placing it on your left hand, which is on your left hip. All right. So we're going to do a little movement here, which is inhaling here, exhaling, rotating open and pulling like it's kind of like starting a lawnmower, if you want to think of it that way. Inhaling, crossing, returning. Exhaling, rotating open and pulling and pausing, really feeling that upper arm kind of pulling in towards the rib cage. Now, this is a great place to observe as you do a couple more. Can you do all this engagement and awakening through the body without the tongue, the eyebrows, the jaw getting involved? So again, maybe smiling a little. Last one. And releasing, bringing that right hand to right hip. Good. Inhaling, rotate that left arm open. Good. And exhaling, just cross it over towards that left hand. Nice, nice long inhale. Soft neck and begin. Exhale, pulling, rotating left. Inhaling, soft return. Exhaling, rotating open. And you could, of course, speed this up if you want to. Really pumping breath. Otherwise, nice and slow, finding the gap, the pause. And releasing. Good. I'm going to ask you to take that right arm and just sweep it up and over. And the left arm up and over. Good. Do that a couple more times. How's that feeling? Are you getting in there? Are you loving it? All right. Good. When you are complete with that, go ahead and give yourself a little fold, that ragdoll fold we do, knees bent, just nice and soft. You're going to stay here for a few breaths. So if you want to add yoga mudra arms, go for it. If you want to be, lunging side to side. Otherwise, just use it like you would child's pose, just a settling pose. When you are ready to rise, never rush to meet my words, just turn those feet out. Inhale, sweep up. Exhaling, prayer hands. Awesome. We're going to come into some warriors. So if your ankles feel like they need a little break, just rotate them, love them up. The ankles do so much. We don't really appreciate them, but how they hold us up, how, again, that proprioception that you felt in that balancing pose. So we're going to do a little warrior. If you want to add other stuff in here, do different versions, I hope you will. We're going to take our feet wide, straddle stance, turn our right foot for warrior 2, and inviting you to just pulse. Find your best lunge. We want to arrive with that right knee directly over the right heel. And remember when I was talking about externally rotating the legs in our standing strap stretch, which we're coming back to? That what I'm talking about is happening right here. So squeeze that right butt cheek towards the left edge of the mat, the butt cheek of the foot that's forward. And think about that back thigh externally rotating as well. When you look at your right thigh bone, it should be straight. This is part of how you know you found that. Add those arms. Reaching out from the heart, and you might pulse here with me. 3 breaths. Inhaling, really extending, rooting, reaching. Exhaling, kind of melting, softening a little bit. You can make it a big melt if you want to. One more. And release back to your straddle and rotating left foot towards the end of the mat. So my right foot's 90 degrees, pointing towards the side of the mat. I really want to check that front foot. And then as I'm kind of pulsing in my lunge, I should be able to see the knee tracking with the foot, landing over the heel. Then I think about that external thigh rotation, that left glute light up. We need to be able to engage this for our standing work that we're about to do again. Adding your arms. Again, any version you'd like to be playing with. Otherwise, just that attention to the pulsing of breath and engagement. The inhale, reaching from heart through middle fingers, as well as pressing the mat longer with your powerful legs. And then softening a little or a lot. And returning. Feet neutral, walk them in. Ooh, doggy. So hopefully you're already feeling a fair bit in the butt. I am. And then as you're ready, you're going to grab your strap or belt or whatever again. Again, balance is challenging here. So if you want to be able to experience the full expression muscularly, you might want to go somewhere. Even if you can't see me, I think this will make sense to you given what we just did on the other side. We're kind of just adding on one little thing. So looping the strap onto the right arch, nice core support. Even as I bend forward, to take that strap kind of inside of the right leg. So I'm sliding my right hand down the inside of the leg, not the outside. And then I'm going to come up so that I'm in my standing position. Good. I'm going to check in with that left hip and glute, that it's engaging, helping me root and rise, shoulder heads down. Taking that right knee out to the right. And then invitation to raise your right foot, but with the knee bent. Initially, knee bent. I want you to imagine you're actually trying to bring your right knee towards your right shoulder. My arm is on the inside of the knee, okay? This is going to be plenty for a lot of us to do with integrity, okay? But the great thing about this strap is it allows you to explore, to begin to try and straighten the leg without giving up integrity. So without hunching and collapsing, right? We also don't want our leg down here, which sometimes people go, yay, I got my leg straight, but it's only 6 inches off the floor. So we're trying to take that knee high, create vigor and space in the core, in that hip area. And then from there, see if you can extend. My scarf is a little slippery, so noticing it's hard to hold. When you're complete, we'll come to the other side. So in addition to the challenges of this pose physically, it's also so hard sometimes to remember to bring breath to it, right? You're holding, you're like, I could do it. So on this other side in particular, let's give that our attention. Got the strap around the left arch, and I'm sliding my hand down as I bring my knee up, or however you'd like to do it. And then I'm checking in with the standing part of the machine here, that right leg and hip, getting it engaged and long. Slowly taking that left knee out. Again, think about that glute engagement, external rotation should help you be really strong. Then just raise that left foot like you're trying to bring your left knee towards your shoulder. Again, this alone is really the important work of the pose, right? You already got to do the ham stretching when we were on our side body on the floor, but this is where you're working that elongation. Don't give that up as you try to play with extending through the leg, okay? Don't give it up. Breathe, breathe, and come on out. So I thought as a countermeasure to this, we're going to do one last round, a full round of warrior series, and then a really nice deep stretch. So you're going to both use and stretch those muscles. We're going to start at the front of the mat and standing crane. If you have a preferred way to get there, you want to go to dog leg flying, you're welcome to do that. So feet are in mountain. There may be 5-6 inches apart. Again, I'm finding that root and rise, core support. So I'm taking my left knee into standing crane, but feeling ease in the neck as I add that balance challenge. Your hands might be in prayer, thumbs touching the heart space. You can have them flying. Long inhale. Feel the work in that standing leg. Exhaling, a slow journey back to crescent lunge on the ball of the foot or warrior 1 foot flat. If you've kind of had more than enough leg work today, you could shorten the stances or just enjoy in mountain playing with the arm extensions. They feel so good. Breathing, practicing, inhaling, engaging, extending through fingers, through heel, exhaling, melting a little bit. Again, you can even melt a lot. Bring the hands out or bend the knee. Inhaling. Extending. Neck is soft. Exhaling. One more. Inhaling, extending. And on the exhale, transitioning to your Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Left foot is now 90 degrees, pointing side of the mat. Front foot straight forward. Thighs rotate externally. And we want to check that our spine is straight up and down, like I'm a puppet suspended from the ceiling, not engaged and reaching and effort filled, right? Finding ease inside of this power. Finding settling inside of the engagement. Inhaling, extending. Exhaling, softening. Again, this pulsing can be a very subtle thing or a big thing. Last one. Inhaling, extend that front leg and reach up, exalted warrior. And here too, we're gonna kind of play with softening and extending. Inhaling, you wanna reach up as high as you can, really igniting the thigh muscles. And on the exhale, you might just soften the arm a little bit or come forward a little bit. Inhaling, extend, you might sweep back against the sky a little bit, never a lot. We don't want to feel any compression in our left waistline. Exhaling, softening. And on your next exhale, flowing forward, lateral stretch, elbow to thigh as your starting point, shoulder heads anchored down. If you have a practice where you go deeper, hand to floor, fine. If your butt comes out even a little bit when you do that, you're actually going out of the benefit of the pose. And you could even end up with impingements and stuff in that right hip. So come on back up if you need to enjoy the full expression of the pose. Deep lateral stretch if we bring that left arm towards the wall beyond our head. Again, pulsing it. Engage as deeply as you can, and then soften it a little bit or a lot if you want to. One more. And I'm going to exhale, release to downward facing dog, but you could also come up to standing mountain and do a little standing hip pump. Either way, join me in sighing breath, inhaling. Again. And however you'd like to return to mountain at the front of the mat for our flow on the other side, you might walk your hands back to your feet and then rise up. You might lunge or jump forward, whatever you'd like. Standing crane, slowly lifting right knee. Finding that balance of hunkering, anchoring, strength, rooting, and then the soft piece of the neck, of the breath, the face. Slow journey, crescent lunge or warrior one, step back. Remember to pause, check that your hip bones are straight forward, and as you're ready, inhale, root and rise or extend as deeply as you can. Exhaling, softening a little bit or a lot. One more. Extending, extending, and exhaling, opening Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Ideally, the breath is so present that it just makes you feel like an object kind of bobbing on the ocean waves. It's wonderful to remember we don't have to do it all. So much happens because of the breath and the wisdom of the body. Inhaling, extend that left leg, reaching up. Ignite those left thigh muscles. If you're not sure, you can always touch them, get them to engage under your touch. Good. Exhaling, soften the pose a little bit. Inhaling, deepen your reach, maybe sweeping back along the ceiling a little bit. Exhaling, coming out a little bit. One more. And slowly forward, lateral stretch, elbow to thigh. Make sure the left ribs are raising up towards the right ribs. So this is where we get a lot of our strength in the pose. Again, you might go to the floor, but not if it brings your butt out behind. And deep engagement with that back leg as you reach through your right hand. How long can you get? Exhaling, soften a little. You might even rotate your chest like a little towards the floor. And then on the inhale, restack those shoulders, bringing the right shoulder back over the left. Oh, it feels so good. Good. One more. And And exhaling, release. Plant the hands for downward facing dog or move towards standing mountain. When you are ready, finding your settling pose. So it's either in mountain or in downward dog or in child's pose. Please find 3 sighing breaths there. You've been really in touch today with breath and its ability to kind of, again, bob us on the waves, lift us and sink us. Find that here for a few more rounds in whatever pose you are in. And if you're simply not ready to move, stay as you are. But we're going to come into a quadricep stretch. I believe some of you really prefer pre-bow or bow, where you would be on your belly and you could go there. We're going to be doing a standing quad stretch is what I'm going to be showing. Just like all the standing work that we've been doing, if the balance part of this is too much of a challenge to then get the benefit of the stretch, go ahead and grab something you can lean on or come onto your belly in that pre-bow. But very key with both versions of the pose, whether you're on your belly or standing, is that before I even begin to bend and reach back for my right ankle, for example, I'm going to squeeze the glutes forward or down into the earth if you're on the abdomen. And that's going to give stability to that back as you try to reach for that right ankle. Now, if you want to do the standing version and that ankle is just out of reach, you could take that strap that you've been using, hook it around the ankle, and you can kind of use your other hand to help get the right length. So sliding that right hand as close to the ankle as you can. And then as you're ready, everybody standing, you want you to think about bringing your bent knee back towards the standing leg and also in a little towards the standing leg. So don't let it wing out. We want to find that neutral alignment where the knee bone, the kneecap is straight down from the hip bone. Good. Now, if you'd like to add a little extra stretch here, you might engage that ankle into the hand. You can even reach the hand forward and explore a little bit of standing dancer. And I say a little bit because when most people try to go into the bigger expression of the pose, for a lot of people, they come out of alignment. They take that knee out to the outside, and then you're just getting icky work in the back. You're not getting that yummy stretch. So take it just as far as you need to feel that beautiful work in the right quad and hips. When you come out, perhaps a little ragdoll, nice decompression for the low back. Breathe into that area, massage it, love it. And as you're ready, rise up. Let's find the other side. So again, engaging the glutes before bending the knee to reach now for the left ankle. Inviting that left knee back in towards the standing leg and a little bit back so that it's in alignment. Good. This is a fun one to practice in a mirror, actually, because then you can see like, oh yeah, I want my body to look exactly like it did from the knees up before I bent my knee, basically. It should all look the same. And then as you're ready, engaging the glutes a little more. I'm tight enough today, I can feel a stretch in my left leg already. If you want to play with that more, you might engage that ankle back into the hand. You might extend that right arm forward. Again, only going as far as you need to enjoy the stretch, not to come out to the side in some sort of funky shape. Breathing and in your own time, releasing. Again, kind of a ragdoll fold, maybe with feet right under you. Maybe take them wide this moment. Just see what would feel good. Bringing breath into the low back. See if you can even spread breath out into your hips. It's like you're sending a massage out into that space. And when you are complete, slowly, slowly come up. Bring those feet together in mountain. We're going to do one more little kind of focus around that extending and softening. I wanted to do it in this shape specifically because, many of us stand, we're having conversations or we're, in the kitchen or whatever. When we're not sitting, a lot of us are standing. And I think it's interesting to notice how well your body is performing in neutral. Because when we are standing upright, there's actually very little effort needed from the muscles. And so they should get to relax, which is great. So I want you to just pause a moment with me. Check that your feet are, maybe 5-6 inches apart at most. You should feel that they're directly beneath you. If you feel they're kind of out or in a little bit, adjust that. And then I want you very intentionally, please, to shift your weight forward in your feet. What do you feel lighting up? And then slowly shift back to what you think is neutral. See if you can get those thigh muscles to get quiet again. And then slowly shifting your weight back in your heels a little bit. Now you might feel not only lighting up happening in the thighs, but also the butt, the back muscles. Intentionally back to neutral. Find as much quiet as you can. And let's do that a couple more times. Please add deep breath awareness. Shifting forward. I could even notice a subtle tightening all the way up into the back of the neck just now when I did that. Finding neutral. Shifting back a little bit. And finding neutral. And for just a couple more breaths here in your neutral, you can have your hands wherever you'd like. Maybe they're in prayer hands, maybe they're on the legs. I'd like you to scan the body from feet to head, however you want to do it, and just see if you can find any areas of not neutral, of holding, where the front body or back body might be tightening. And that would be an indication that you're forward or back of neutral. See if you can really find quiet. Do you have one leg that's lighting up more than another, whether it's in the IT bands or the quads or the hams? Please take this moment of deep attention with your body to thank it, particularly if you have any pain or disharmony. It's tempting to be frustrated with the body, but this is then particularly the important time to thank the body for managing equilibrium as well as it is. It's always trying to compensate, often for something that we're doing, that we cross our legs all the time, or that we're standing in a funny way, or what have you. So often the pain or discomfort in our body is, or we're recovering from injury, but is there for a reason. So thank it and commit to a deeper level of swadhyaya, self-observation. And then please, as you are ready, make your way into your resting shape. It might be a seated meditation if you'd like. You could grab a bolster. These are really firm, these bolsters, and they allow you, if you'd like, to recline on them. You can even place one end up on the block, and they'll really support your body weight. Please find your best place. And before we move into our yogic sleep, ideally kind of a place of non-thinking, I'm going to ask you to focus your mind for a few more moments. I'm going to ask you to scan your practice. And first, I'd like you to scan it to kind of lock into your attention any parts of the body that had something to say that you noticed that you maybe didn't know before. And this kind of body scan can be a marvelous way to prepare for sleep and to go into deeper sleep, but also kind of digest the day. And then lastly, I'd like to ask your mind's attention to go towards scanning for any words that were really useful to you. We talked about that at the beginning of practice. What words resonate and have an immediate effect on your muscular body, cellular body, nervous system? Is it a word like settling or sink or root or peace? And if nothing really stuck out for you in this practice, no worries. Again, this would be a beautiful kind of meditative practice to even do tonight before drifting off, is to run a single word or a very brief phrase through your mind's eye, like you're kind of flashing it up on the screen of your mind, and scan for the effects of it in your body. For now, please join me in a few minutes of yogic sleep. So letting go of all breath control, all effort or attention, inviting your body to sink deeply down and down and down. If the mind wanders, simply notice and return it to settling. Is there any particular energy with which you'd like to return to life off of the yoga mat? If you are not ready to return yet, stay as you are in deep attention with your body and breath. If you are complete and ready to close the practice with me, I invite you to join me in 3 ohms. You might have your hands somewhere on your body to feel the vibration. Om, we say, is the vibration of all things, and particularly of nature. So it's very grounding. And in that sense of being all about nature, it's very healing. And it really helps balance out the other parts of life that can be buzzy or stressful. So just notice the effects of it on your own body today, gathering a long inhale.
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Is there anyone in particular you would like to send out the gifts of your yoga practice to? If so, just imagine them in your mind's eye. Maybe it's a entire community or humanity or the planet. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Thank you so, so much for joining me today. I hope this practice supports you in everything you give all of your being to so generously. Thank you. Be well.